For a country that has land, farmers, and potential, the level of dependence on imported food is alarming. The food import bill has crossed the billion-dollar mark and has stayed there, putting pressure on the economy and on the people who must live with the results. When people talk about Jamaica's food imports, it is not about one or two products. It is about almost everything that ends up on the plate. Grains, meat, packaged foods, cereals, and snacks are imported in large volumes. Supermarkets are stacked with foreign items. Restaurants rely heavily on imports. Even the hotels that cater to tourists, a key part of Jamaica's economy, depend on imported food. All of this adds up, and the end result is that Jamaica spends more than $1 billion every year just to bring in food from other countries. This is a heavy burden. It means that a large portion of the money Jamaica earns, whether through exports or tourism or services, is going right back out to pay for food. When a country is so dependent on imports for something as basic as food, it becomes vulnerable. Global food price increases hit Jamaica directly. Exchange rate movements push prices higher. Inflation takes hold, and people feel it every time they buy something at the shop or market. The food import bill is not just a number in government accounts. It translates to higher living costs for everyone. There are clear reasons why Jamaica's food bill is this high. One is the sheer demand for food products that are not produced in large enough volumes locally. Another is the change in diets. Older generations grew up on meals made from local crops and traditional staples. Younger generations are different. They are gravitating towards American-style diets. Cereals, snacks, packaged foods, and fast food items have become a normal part of everyday consumption. Walk into a supermarket and you will see row after row of imported products. Walk into any town and you will see the popularity of fast food restaurants. People are choosing these options, and that means more imports to satisfy demand. The influence of American food culture is very strong in Jamaica. Young people in particular are drawn to it, whether through social media, advertising, or just habit. Imported cereals are now a regular part of many households. Packaged snacks and drinks are everywhere. This change in consumer preference locks Jamaica even deeper into dependence on foreign food, because local agriculture does not produce these items in the same form. The more the diet shifts in that direction, the higher the import bill grows. Another part of the problem is the reality that many of the items people think are local are not actually made in Jamaica. There are brands that are marketed as local, but the products themselves are manufactured abroad and shipped into the country. They may look Jamaican on the label, but in truth, they are imports. This adds to the bill and makes it appear as though the country is consuming local goods when it is not. It shows how deep the dependence runs, even when the packaging suggests otherwise. The size of Jamaica's food import bill is not just about consumer habits, it is also about structure. The economy has been shaped in a way that relies on imports. For decades, policy choices have tilted toward importation rather than building local production. It has often been cheaper or easier for businesses to import food rather than work with local farmers. The systems that connect farmers to markets are weak, processing facilities are limited, storage and distribution networks are underdeveloped. All of this reduces the ability of local producers to compete with imported goods. Tourism is another factor. The hotel and restaurant sector is a major consumer of imported food. Some estimates suggest that more than half of the food import bill is tied to this sector alone. Tourists expect certain types of food. Hotels often find it easier to import standardized products that meet those expectations. While this supports tourism, it drives up the import bill and does little to build demand for local farmers. The cycle continues. More tourists lead to more imports, and the bill keeps rising. The problem matters because it is not sustainable. Every year, over $1 billion leaves the economy to pay for food imports. That is money that could be invested in local farming, processing, or other sectors. Instead, it is spent abroad. It also means that Jamaica is vulnerable to global market changes. When wheat prices spike internationally, Jamaica feels it. When supply chains are disrupted, Jamaica struggles. Dependence on imports removes control from the country's own hands. This is why regional leaders have been pushing for a reduction in the food import bill. CARICOM launched an initiative to cut food imports by 25%. The original target year was 2025, but the timeline has now been extended to 2030. The idea is simple. encourage more local production, stimulate regional trade, and reduce the outflow of foreign exchange. For Jamaica, this target is ambitious, but necessary. Achieving it would mean billions saved, stronger agriculture, and more resilience against global shocks. At the national level, Jamaica has taken steps, but progress is slow. The government has announced programs to boost production of key crops. There are campaigns to encourage people to grow more and to eat more of what is produced locally. Efforts have been made to link farmers directly with hotels, restaurants, and supermarkets, so they can supply consistent volumes. There are also attempts to improve self-sufficiency in certain staple foods. These are all positive moves, but the scale of the challenge means they need to go further and faster. For Jamaica to cut its food import bill, several things must happen. In the short term, the country needs to focus on substituting the biggest imported items with local production where possible. That means looking at which foods take up the largest share of the bill and creating programs to grow them at home. In the long term, Jamaica needs investment in agro-processing. It is not enough to just grow crops. They need to be processed, stored, and packaged in ways that make them competitive with imports. Storage facilities are essential to prevent waste. Regional trade also needs to be expanded so Jamaica can source from neighboring countries instead of looking outside the region. Consumer habits are another barrier. Even if local production increases, demand for imported cereals, snacks, and fast food items will remain unless there is a cultural shift. Changing diets is not easy, but public campaigns and education can help. Schools, community programs, and the media can promote the value of local foods. If demand continues to be locked into foreign products, it will be difficult to bring the bill down in a meaningful way. The risks of not acting are serious. Production gaps mean that Jamaica cannot supply enough of its own food. Investment needs are high, and without proper financing, farmers can't scale up. Younger generations may continue to prefer imported diets, locking the country into dependence. Businesses that profit from imports may resist change as they benefit from the current system. These challenges make the problem harder to solve, but they also highlight why action is urgent. The conclusion is clear. Jamaica's food import bill is too high and continues to grow. It drains foreign exchange, exposes the economy to global price shocks, and weakens local agriculture. The changing diets of younger generations, the reliance on imported goods sold as local, and the structural dependence on imports all make the situation worse. National efforts and regional initiatives like CARICOM's 25 by 2030 target are important, but they need to be backed by stronger, faster action. Jamaica cannot afford to keep sending more than $1 billion out of the economy each year just to put food on the table. The longer the country waits to tackle this problem, the worse it will get.